You may not have heard about the most mysterious book in China, Tui Bei Tu, a book written 1,300 years ago that has predicted correctly every major event in China. It has 60 poems with 60 pictures. The accuracy is shocking, but people can only understand it after witnessing the events predicted, because no one has fully understood the meaning until history has played itself out. Tui Bei Tu follows a strict timeline, so if you can understand it, you can pretty much see the future. But its authors did not want to reveal the unknown, so they hid the future so you will only understand when you have all of the facts. But history is the best teacher. A good look at Tui Bei Tu in China's past 1,300 years, and you can understand the codes and how the information was hidden. How to dissect the words and characters to find the secret messages. Past events had been decoded many times, but what people saw was the obvious. A lot of hidden information was never noticed until now. But with an open mind and creative thoughts, we are close to solving the 1,000-year-old mystery of the Chinese Tui Bei Tu. Tui Bei Tu was published during the early Tang Dynasty around AD 627 to 649. It was written by Li Chongfeng, 602 AD to 670 AD, and Wan Tangong, AD 583 to 665. They supposedly wrote Tui Bei Tu with knowledge of I Ching. People say I Ching is a system of ancient computer codes, as it is made of only 0 and 1. Through the combination of 0 and 1, it expanded to 8 signs, as seen in the national flag of South Korea, and then 64. But how can these 0 and 1 tell the future of China? That is totally beyond me. So, people have said the book is a fraud. They have said that people had nothing better to do than write history in vague forms, and say it was written by Li and Wan. But Tui Bei Tu was mentioned in the Song Dynasty history book. Song started in AD 960 and ended in 1127. So we can confirm that Tui Bei Tu was well known and studied 1,000 years ago. But Tui Bei Tu is often attacked because of its strength. The more accurate it is, the less people believe it is real. Let me give you an example. Number 34 is about the Qing Dynasty. Qing governed China from 1644 to 1912. And during the Qing Dynasty, the largest revolution by farmers took place between 1851 to 1864. The death toll has been estimated to be between 60 million to 200 million lives. Very few people know about this war, but it killed more people in World War I and World War II combined. The short poem stated, quote, "Hair on top, clothes not white. During peaceful time, king kills king." And the long poem reads, "Blood splattered during peacetime. 5 colors chapter done with clothing wearing on. Flood rays high above, wheat no longer grow. Mainland no more dreams gone too." This is a great example of how impossible it is to decode the quatrain before the event unveiled itself. The farmer revolutionists called the kingdom they formed Country of Peace. So the period of the massacre is called peacetime. But the true meaning will strike upon you when the killing started. The short poem is easy to decode, as every man in the Qing dynasty had to shave the front of their head. But that was abolished in peace country territories. The Chinese wear white when a family member dies. This meant the death the conflict brought. The picture showed skeletons laying on the riverbank. The war zone was in the southern half of China, bordered by the Yangtze River, and the point to start peace country's doomed fate was when the second most powerful king tried to assassinate the leader and failed. So the king killed his right-hand man, the second king, and then his followers, just as predicted. This long poem is not as easy to understand, but I refer to bloodshed, starvation, and flood, which all happened during that chaotic time. And someone noted the leader's name, Hong Xiquan, appeared in the poem. Critics jumped on that and yelled out, "Fake." There's no way they could have known that 1,000 years ago. Actually, they did not realize that the long poem hid not only the name of the emperor, but also his son, the king who gave his life to save his son, and the names of the two generals that defeated him. Don't believe me? Let me show you. This is the leader, Hong Xiquan. This is the first and last name of his son, Hong Tiangui. This is the king that saved his son in the Battle of Nanking, Li Zhisheng. The poem showed his first and middle name. This is the last name of the general that defeated the peace rebels, Zheng Gufang. This is the middle name of the general that gave the final blow, Li Hongqiang. Aren't the names obvious? Well, not so much. Other than the peace emperor's name, which is too hard to miss, no one realized the seemingly vague long poem hid so many details. Well, now you may have two more questions. 1. How did you find this? 2. How do you know this is not a made-up forgery? Our team is different. We don't follow the road others have traveled on. And we don't present our findings unless we can logically prove our findings. I say logically because of historical facts and the Chinese characters used in the poem. I can't get the authors to cast a vote of confidence. So many people have jumped on the bandwagon of calling me crazy, or stretching the truth. And I may not be right, but how can you solve this mystery if you don't try? And to answer the second question, how do we know this poem in Tui Bei Tu is not forged? Before answering that, let me give you a short story about Tui Bei Tu. No one can say if Tui Bei Tu was modified over the years, but it was already proven accurate, or it would not appear in the official history book in the Song Dynasty 1,000 years ago. But the accuracy shocked the Emperor of China. But how can you stop a 1,000-year-old book? So, the first emperor of the Song Dynasty, Jia Kuangyi, changed the sequence of the second half of the book, put out different graphics, and changed some words. So no one can know the future nor predict it. But some copies did survive, and the one now commonly thought to be the most genuine copy is this one. Sherry wrote this 40 years ago in Taiwan. Her father read this 70 years ago in China. But the existence does not prove accuracy. Most people still refuse to acknowledge this book. As you can see, number 1 and number 9 is about the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907, 289 years and 9 poems. Then numbers 10 through 14 is the 5 short-lived dynasties, AD 907 to 960. Poems 15 through 20 is the North Song Dynasty, 960 to 1127. The South Song Dynasty, 1127 to 1279, is detailed in poems 21 to 24. The short-lived Wan Dynasty lasted from 1279 to 1368. Can be found in poems 25 and 26. The Ming Dynasty ruled China from 1368 to 1644. Is shown in poems 27 to 32. While from 1644 to 1912, Qing's fate was listed in poems 33 to 36. The scary part of Tui Bei Tu is the strict timeline it followed. So when events unfolded in one, you know which poem holds the secret of what's to come. And that applies to poems 37 and on, because that is about the past 100 years of Chinese history, plus the unknown future. But China has suffered so much, so which event is worth mentioning? The timeline was confirmed in 1931, when Japan invaded China. Japan's failure was predicted to happen in the year of the chicken, and it did happen in 1945. Once number 39 is decoded, number 40 must be about China after World War II. Yes, but there are a ton of different explanations. One thing everyone recognizes is this second line of the short poem is about the General Chiang Kai-shek. But what about lines 1, 2, 3, and 4? What is the lead that brought the end? I can tell you what I think, but the last time I did, people disagreed with me and attacked me as if I was the third Antichrist. So I will not try to convince you, but I will show what was hidden in this quatrain that no one had noticed until our team decoded it. Just like in poem 34, where I found 5 people's names hidden. This one is amazing also, because it showed the name of the 3 leaders. Chiang Kai-shek's other commonly used first name, Chong, Zheng Jing's, is shown in this and this, while Ma Zedong is shown Ma. Here, Zhe here, Dong here. The second in command, Zhao and Lei, Zhao is here, Lei is here, and the word N may be a combination of this and this, while the calling of no shoes may mean the missing part of his name. I know many may call that a stretch, as no one in the past 1,300 years has dissected Chinese characters like this to decode Tui Bei Tu. But the words are meant to hide, so only people with the right connection can get through on the hotline. For the ones who call me crazy, check this. Do you see Chiang Kai-shek's other first name, Kai-shek? Now, look again. And now, do you see it? Just like piecing Mao Zedong's name, it's hidden. But once I showed you how to search, isn't it clear as water? By showing you number 34 about the Qing Dynasty and number 39 about China after World War II, I proved not only important names are hidden in the poems, but they are real. Why, the current circulated copy was noted by Jin Shengtan, a 17th century famous scholar, and the book was in circulation and stored in a museum for several hundred years, from approximately 1608 to 1661. Even if you want to argue on number 34, you can't deny what we found in poem 39. And then there is something else we found that no one had found before. The word small government in line 3 of the short poem number 40 has long been acknowledged as the small government in Taiwan. But there are 10 better words to use than the uncommon word of Tian Gong. But take a closer look, and you will find the word contains 4 on top of the word straight. 4 is the top part of Mao Zedong's Zhe, and straight is the bottom part of Zheng. So this meant Ma Zedong win over Xiang Zhongjing. Then I think of the quote in line 4 of the short poem, great administration through non-doing. It is a famous ancient quote about managing government through doing nothing. People thought it meant Taiwan great governing. Well, Taiwan government did a lot, from forming a constitution to tax law reform, from export subsidies to industrialization. Why is it called doing nothing? Because it is a poem with a hidden meaning. Tregang Archu. The first character, Tre, means fallen, The left part of the second word means hand. The right part of the second word is communist. This word meant hand over to communist. The last word, zi, means manage. But the left part is water, while the right part is Taiwan. So the four words mean fallen and hand over to communist. Cross the water to manage Taiwan. Isn't this amazing? Although people before me only recognized the leader that managed the small government, and a few thought the Mao here meant Mao, without seeing the other hidden clues, few can deny it is about China after World War II. But no one seemed to get what the next poem meant, thinking it is about the next stage. The long poem, calling Blood with No Head, painted a gruesome picture, but people can't seem to decode it correctly. You see, you can't say you decode Tui Bei Tu unless you find events fitting the timeline. So, you have to look at the big pictures. We are pretty sure about what number 41 is about because the second line of the short poem, grass and wood growing, use the words foreign colony as a word choice for growing. And the third line says 99 years formed a big mistake. That pointed directly to the 99-year lease on Hong Kong. While the part people can't understand, the third line, yin and yang in reverse, and first line of long poem, the cat must wear blood without a head, is a puzzle for a word, Deng Xiaoping's last name. The right side of the word dong is the left side of both yin and yang, which is what the reverse means, while the left side is the left side of the word head, but missing the cap. When we first shared the decode, we were called pretty ugly names because they said, who cares about the tiny Hong Kong? Well, getting back the territory is a historical event, and the person behind it was Deng Xiaoping. Deng changed China by opening the Iron Curtain, that is, turning around the whole China. And when will his reign end? 1997, the year when Hong Kong went back to China. Number 42 showed more fulfilled and accurate prophecies. The poem is translated as, beauty from the west, government stabilized, long bow on the ground, danger receded. The long poem is Western lady as a expert guitar player, white clothing in bright color, hidden in the city, stir up the kings and lords. This is the beginning of several poems with the bow mentioned. Bow is part of the word Taiwan, and the island of Taiwan looks very much like a bow, especially when shown in this picture the way it lays. American is the same exact word as beauty in Chinese. Chinese characters have different meanings. So let me translate the poem again using the alternative meanings I've found. Americans came from the West. Korea, Taiwan, and Japan slowly back to peace. Long bow, Taiwan on the ground. Danger receded. Americans played us like an expert guitar player, wearing white in shining armor. Its presence in Korean city, causing nonstop tension between the king and lord. Don't believe me? Ask someone who knows Chinese and you will know I said nothing but the truth. And I also found a few things that no one had noticed before. The word Korea was hidden here. In the picture, a small rabbit appeared on the right. Taiwan was about to fall until 1951, the year of the rabbit when Korean War brought soldiers and a fleet. It changed not only Taiwan but also stabilized South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. The 7th Fleet stayed until 1979, but still patrols the Taiwan Strait to avoid possible conflicts. You know the Navy wears white. That is what the wearing white meant. And do you know it bases its headquarters at the Busan Naval Base? That is what the word Korean City means. And do you know the word mixed is water on the right and military on the right, which means Navy. The bright color meant of them coming in shining armor. Tui Bei Tu wasted no words in detailing the conflict and the effect to China and its neighboring countries. Isn't that shocking? But you may wonder, why is this poem number 42 not before number 41, which is about Hong Kong and its unification to China in 1997? I think it is because the American involvement is still ongoing till this day, just like the South Korean Navy base is still in operation. While Hong Kong's lease started over 100 years ago, but it ended in 1997. Then number 43 I can only partially decode, as I think it is also about events unfolding. While it showed the two people walking together, the poem King is not king, Lord is not a lord identified the unique relationship between China and Taiwan. Number 44 shows two people meeting. It shows the person standing with a bow in the back. Bow is about Taiwan. So it is showing Taiwan's leader possibly meeting China's leader. This did happen in 2015 in Singapore. President Xi's name is in the fourth line of the short poem, while the fourth hindfoot Taiwan president's last name is Horse. And Taiwan president's first name, Nine, is also in the last line of the long poem. Number 45 seemed to show a war with Japan. The first line pointed to Americans' involvement, as it called for a guess from the west. Stop when it reaches east. Seemed to say the American show of force is nothing more than the show of force. It won't really get involved in the conflict. But the first line of the long poem said, big military movement of the world, points to a world war. Please note the word movement is the military on the move if you read into the character. Either it is a limited conflict or all-out world war that ends with Japan's defeat. We believe number 46 is about a future event, because the conflict with China has not yet begun. But our controversial decoding brought us praises and attacks. We believe the long poem is about Mayor Han Guoyu, because he was a Taiwanese soldier, calling himself the old man with no hair. There's a sword in his name, Yu, and his rise to power is nothing short of a fairy tale. But the short poem seemed to indicate a roadblock on his way to the presidential palace. It seemed to indicate an assassination attempt, and someone will be killed. Because we believe trying to solve the Tui Bei Tu mystery is a part of us solving the unknown, we don't believe we should hide under our table doing this work. Actually, I'm amazed at not only the unbelievable prophecy, but also how the prophecy has survived despite the 1,000-year suppression. Trying to decode does not mean we are right. It only means we want to share what we have found and encourage others to look for more clues so we can solve the mystery of our future. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.